It was a quiet afternoon at the city's police precinct. Erica Williams, a poised and confident black woman in her mid-30s, sat in the waiting area. Dressed in a professional blazer, she sipped her coffee and scrolled through her phone, responding to emails and checking the time. She was there for a routine visit, to finalize paperwork for her new role as the precinct's chief. No one in the precinct yet knew about her upcoming appointment. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. By the way, what city are you watching us from? Write it in the comments, we're curious. The door swung open abruptly, breaking the stillness. Officer Daniel Cross, a white cop known for his sharp tongue and unfiltered opinions, stormed in. He had just returned from a tense domestic disturbance call, and the frustration showed in his every movement. His colleagues knew to give him space when he was like this, but Erica was oblivious to his mood as she focused on her phone. As Daniel walked past, he spotted Erica and, for a fleeting moment, his prejudices took hold. He didn't like how calm she looked, how comfortable she seemed in a place he considered his domain. Without breaking stride, he accidentally nudged her coffee cup with his arm. The cup tipped, spilling its scalding contents onto Erica's face and neck. She cried out in pain as the hot liquid seared her skin. The room froze. Some officers hesitated, unsure how to react, while others rushed to help. Daniel, however, smirked briefly before turning and walking away as if nothing had happened. His laughter echoed faintly, leaving an indelible mark on everyone present. Within minutes, paramedics were called. Erica was taken to the hospital, her skin bearing red marks from the burn. As she was wheeled out, she locked eyes with Daniel for a moment, her expression a mixture of disbelief and quiet resolve. Unbeknownst to him, the woman he had just humiliated would soon hold the highest authority in that precinct. 2 weeks later, the precinct was buzzing with activity. Officers were gathered in groups, swapping stories about calls and paperwork, unaware of the storm about to hit. The door opened, and Erica Williams walked in, not as a visitor this time, but as their new chief of police. She moved confidently through the precinct, her burn scars now faint but still visible on her neck. Her eyes scanned the room, observing every detail. The officers, caught off guard, stood at attention as she approached the central desk. Murmurs filled the air as the realization sank in, she was their new boss. Daniel Cross, seated at his desk, felt his stomach drop when he saw her. His smirk from 2 weeks ago had vanished, replaced by a cold sweat. Erica's gaze lingered on him briefly before she addressed the room. Conference room. Now, she ordered. Her voice was firm, commanding respect. The officers quickly shuffled into the room, exchanging nervous glances. Once everyone was seated, Erica stood at the head of the table. Without preamble, she pulled back her collar, revealing the faded burns on her neck. The room went silent. 2 weeks ago, I sat here as an outsider, she began, her tone calm but sharp. And I left here with these scars, not from an accident, but from a deliberate act fueled by prejudice. Her words hung heavy in the air. Daniel shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his face pale. Erica continued, addressing not just him but the entire team. This is a new chapter for this precinct. Racism, hatred, and discrimination have no place here. If anyone thinks otherwise, I suggest you reconsider your career. She let her words sink in before turning her attention directly to Daniel. Officer Cross, you owe this team and me an apology, she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. Daniel, visibly shaken, stammered, I'm sorry, Chief. I was out of line. It won't happen again. Erica nodded but didn't let him off the hook. We'll see. Actions speak louder than words. Starting today, you're my new partner. Let's see if you're ready to learn what true leadership looks like. The room was stunned. Pairing herself with Daniel was a bold move, but Erica had a plan. She wasn't just here to punish, she was here to lead by example. Daniel Cross didn't sleep well that night. The thought of working alongside Erica Williams made him uneasy. His guilt gnawed at him, but he masked it with defensiveness. "Why is she doing this?" he muttered to himself as he put on his uniform the next morning. Little did he know, Erica's decision wasn't about punishment, it was about proving a point. Their first day as partners began with tension so thick it could be cut with a knife. Erica was calm and professional, but Daniel felt the weight of her silent scrutiny. Their first call together came in shortly after their shift started, an armed robbery in progress at a small convenience store. As they sped to the scene, Erica broke the silence. "Listen carefully. We approach this together, follow protocol, and keep civilians safe. Got it?" Her tone was commanding but not hostile. Daniel nodded, unsure how to respond. When they arrived, the store was eerily quiet. The suspect was still inside, holding a young cashier at gunpoint. Erica motioned for Daniel to flank the back while she approached the front cautiously. Through her calm demeanor, Erica directed the situation like a seasoned pro. Her voice was steady as she spoke to the suspect, de-escalating the tension step by step. Daniel watched from his position, realizing she wasn't just giving orders, she was leading with empathy and control. When the suspect finally surrendered, Daniel moved in to secure him. As they escorted the man to the squad car, Daniel found himself strangely impressed. Erica had handled the situation without a single misstep, defusing a dangerous encounter without resorting to unnecessary force. Back in the car, the silence was different, less tense, more reflective. Daniel hesitated, then finally said, "You were good back there." "I didn't expect that." Erica glanced at him, her expression neutral. "That's the problem, Cross. You judge before you know. Keep that in mind, it might save your life one day." Daniel didn't respond, but her words struck a nerve. For the first time, he began to see her not as a threat to his worldview, but as a leader who had earned her position through hard work and skill. As the day continued, Erica subtly tested Daniel, assigning him tasks that required cooperation and trust. Slowly, he started to see the value in her leadership. Each call they handled together chipped away at his preconceived notions, forcing him to confront the bias he had clung to for years. By the end of their shift, Daniel was exhausted, not from the physical demands of the day, but from the internal battle raging in his mind. Erica hadn't lectured or scolded him, she had shown him, through action, what it meant to be a real officer and a decent human being. And for Daniel, it was a lesson he wasn't likely to forget. 2 days after the robbery, a high-priority call came through the radio. A domestic dispute had escalated into a hostage situation in a suburban home. Multiple units were dispatched, but Erica and Daniel were the closest. The tension in the car was palpable as they sped toward the address. "We approach cautiously," Erica instructed. "No rushing in, no heroics. Understand?" Daniel nodded, gripping the steering wheel. He had grown to respect her calm command, even if he still struggled with his pride. When they arrived, chaos surrounded the house. A man armed with a shotgun had barricaded himself inside, holding his wife and 2 children hostage. Officers had secured the perimeter, but the situation was deteriorating. The man was shouting through a cracked window, his demands irrational and frantic. Erica surveyed the scene quickly. "I'll talk to him," she said, grabbing a radio. "You're going in there?" Daniel asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. "No, but I need to get close enough to establish trust. You cover me from the side, stay ready, but don't act unless I say so." Daniel watched as Erica approached the house, her hands visible and her voice steady. "I'm Chief Williams," she called out, her tone firm yet empathetic. "I want to help you, but you need to let me talk to you." The man shouted back, his words slurred with desperation. He wasn't making sense, but Erica didn't falter. She kept him engaged, carefully navigating his emotions. Then, suddenly, a gunshot rang out. The sound froze everyone in place. Erica ducked behind a parked car as Daniel instinctively moved closer to her position. "You good?" he asked, his heart racing. "I'm fine," she replied. "But he's not stable. We need to get those hostages out now." As she strategized, the situation spiraled further. A child's cry from inside the house pierced the air, followed by more shouting. Erica made a snap decision. "Daniel, we're going in," she said. "I'll draw his attention while you get to the family. You get them out, no matter what." "Wait, what if?" "No time for what ifs. Trust me." They moved quickly, entering the house from opposite sides. Inside, the air was thick with tension. Erica's voice carried over the chaos, keeping the man focused on her as she slowly approached. Meanwhile, Daniel slipped into the back room where the hostages were huddled. The mother's eyes widened in terror as he motioned for them to follow him quietly. He led them out through a side door, heart pounding as he heard the man's erratic shouting from the other room. Just as Daniel got the family to safety, a second gunshot echoed through the house. Panic surged through him as he ran back inside. He found Erica pinned behind an overturned table, clutching her side. The suspect had fired and was now advancing, the shotgun trembling in his hands. Without thinking, Daniel stepped into the line of fire. "Drop the weapon," he shouted, his gun trained on the man. The suspect hesitated, his grip faltering as he saw the determination in Daniel's eyes. Finally, he lowered the shotgun, collapsing to his knees. Officers swarmed in moments later to secure him. Daniel turned to Erica, who was pale but conscious. "You're hit," he exclaimed, kneeling beside her. "It's a graze," she muttered through clenched teeth. "I'll live." The paramedics arrived quickly, and as Erica was being treated, she locked eyes with Daniel. "You did good," she said softly. For Daniel, the moment was a turning point. Erica had risked everything, not just for the hostages but for him, too. She had trusted him to do his part, and for the first time, he felt like he had truly earned that trust. The events of the hostage situation had shaken Daniel to his core. As he sat in the hospital waiting room, watching Erica being treated for her wound, he couldn't shake the image of her standing tall in the face of danger. She had trusted him when it mattered most, even though he'd given her every reason not to. A nurse called him back to Erica's room. She was sitting up in bed, a bandage on her side, her expression calm but tired. "You didn't have to stay," she said, her tone neutral. Daniel shook his head. "I wanted to. I needed to." He paused, taking a deep breath. "Chief. Erica. I owe you an apology. For everything. For the coffee, the disrespect, all of it." His voice was steady, but his guilt was evident. "I judged you without knowing you. I let my own biases blind me to who you really are. And today, you saved me. You trusted me when I didn't deserve it. I can't thank you enough for that." Erica studied him for a moment, her face unreadable. Then she nodded. "Apology accepted," she said simply. "But words aren't enough, Daniel. Change is what matters. If you've truly learned something from this, show it. Be better." He nodded quickly. "I will. I promise." The room fell silent for a moment, then Erica spoke again. "Do you know why I stayed in law enforcement despite everything I've faced?" Daniel shook his head. "Because I believe in what this uniform can represent," she said firmly. "It's not about power or authority. It's about service, justice, and protecting those who need it. But that only works if we're willing to confront our own flaws, individually and as a system. I'm here because I want to make that change from the inside." Daniel felt the weight of her words. He realized how narrow his perspective had been, how he had let hatred and ignorance cloud his judgment. "Thank you for giving me a second chance," he said quietly. Erica offered a faint smile. It's not about second chances, Daniel. It's about what you do with them. As they talked, Daniel felt a shift within himself. The walls of prejudice he had built over years began to crumble, replaced by a newfound respect for Erica and the values she stood for. He knew he had a long way to go, but for the first time, he felt ready to take that journey. When he left the hospital that night, Daniel didn't just leave as a man who had survived a dangerous call. He left as someone determined to prove he was capable of growth, someone willing to fight for what was right, alongside a leader who had shown him the true meaning of courage and integrity. 2 weeks after the hostage incident, life at the precinct felt different. Erica's leadership had started to leave its mark. Policies were being re-evaluated, diversity training was scheduled, and an air of accountability filled the station. Erica wasn't just commanding respect, she was transforming the culture from the inside out. Daniel, too, was changing. He had requested to work directly under Erica, not out of obligation but because he wanted to learn from her. To everyone's surprise, Erica agreed. On their first day back in the field together, the atmosphere was notably lighter. They responded to a routine call about a neighborhood dispute, but the ease with which they worked as a team was noticeable. Erica gave Daniel opportunities to take the lead, and he, in turn, sought her guidance when needed. During a quiet moment back at the precinct, Daniel approached Erica with a hesitant but sincere tone. "Chief, I know actions speak louder than words, but I just want you to know that I've been working on myself, understanding my biases, learning where I went wrong. I want to make you proud." Erica looked at him for a moment, her expression unreadable as always, before nodding. "Keep doing the work, Daniel. Change isn't instant, but consistency makes it real." As the day wound down, Erica called for a precinct-wide meeting. Standing at the front of the room, she addressed the team. "This station has been through a lot recently," she began. "But growth comes from challenges. We're here to protect and serve everyone, no exceptions. And that starts within these walls, with each of you treating one another with respect, regardless of background." She turned to Daniel briefly, her gaze firm but encouraging. "We all have a role to play in making this precinct better. It's not about perfection, it's about effort, learning, and showing up every day ready to be better than we were yesterday." The meeting ended with a round of applause, not out of obligation but genuine appreciation for her leadership. Later that evening, as Daniel prepared to head home, he paused in the doorway of Erica's office. "Chief," he said, "thank you, for everything. For not giving up on me." Erica glanced up from her paperwork. "Don't thank me yet," she replied. "Just make sure I don't regret it." As he walked out, Daniel felt something he hadn't experienced in years: hope. For the first time, he truly believed he could be part of the change Erica envisioned. And as Erica watched him go, she knew that the battle against prejudice and ignorance wasn't over, but this was a start, a new beginning for them both, and for the precinct as a whole. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video to show your support.